I never like to say failure, this word, because I don't think it's a failure. I think it's always, you make a mistake, it's actually a success. As a leader, there are times that we just lead? Yes, we could just lead, and we could employ the right people for AI and for the new technology, right? That was what I used to do. But even that, we have to be involved. Okay, we don't need to know everything, right? We don't need to go in depth. But as a leader, we need to know it. We need to know what is the implication, how it's going to be like. Just like me, I stepped into the healthcare industry. I also went to Harvard Medical School to get myself a certificate in what they call the lifestyle medicine, right? So that is where we constantly have to kind of like step back and as a leader to learn to help our team to grow stronger. So the team will know if the leader is actually learning, what is stopping them from learning as well. So it builds a culture. I think that's a really good way to build a culture for the team. So maybe I also want to ask Nito to maybe share with us something. Maybe you can describe the moment when you step back as a leader, what has actually changed? Like, for example, you now talk about you go into AI, you learn about all these things. Now, what has then changed in your team? Maybe you want to give us some case studies or examples. Yeah.
I think the first chaos chain is the leaders that struggle how to solve the problem without me next to them, right? So, for example, when you train people, you sit beside them, not in physical, but you in phone. So when they have a problem, they text you, you can respond straight away, just for a leader, not the below. But when you start busy, just say you go for submit every day, you go for class every day, you fly, you sit with client, you networking, you extend your circle. You're not on the phone. I'm not even on the phone. That's why if you see text, sometimes I don't even read for a few days because I really not on the phone.
Oh.
So they have to face it, right? Because some private submit, you go, phone not allowed for a few days because you're only networking and private with a lot of people. So again, I think that's the chaos. And then they have to learn how to deal with that situation and handle the company. But that's make us as a leader gain muscle. You can't just solve the problem and the problem you don't know. You just wait for the people ahead of you. You just have to find a way, because on that journey actually I have my way too, and my way is to work too. But just solve it first, and later we see is that a bad or it's okay or it can be done. So that's how I see the big problem. Next one is client, right? Even I told them that team will handle, but they would love to handle by me and all that. So that's also something that I have to manage or let it go. Let it go, I mean let client go. Because I also don't expect work with people that they too demanding on me or don't understand that I have a team. You're not a center of universe. I cannot work with you alone. I have to do other things too. So yes, so that's the two things: client and my colleague lead team.
I think what has changed when I stepped back as a leader, it was probably after some time. Really, I was really involved in my previous organization, very hands-on, and every time I'm known to be the problem solver. Yeah, I'm known to be a problem solver. So anything they will know, like as long as Pauline is around, it will get solved, right? Because they can rely on me. So after some time, I realized that might be an issue. So even my business founders will say, if there's an issue, they'll say, okay, is Pauline here? So they ask me in to see whether I can think of a solution and solve the problem because of my experience. And sometimes I can really think out of the box, right? Yeah. So and for me, it's also I can think of different implications. Okay, that's my strength. That means if you come up with a solution, I can think of the 3 steps ahead. Yeah, what is it? I think that's what a leader should be able to do. So when I step back, what I do is, what has changed is, but it's not easier. First thing is like what NhiLe have said, it is to really, you need to be able to let certain things like make mistakes.
Yeah,
right. There's a
exactly.
cost. Really, there's a cost to it.
It
Right?
is. And sometimes the cost can be finance. This
Yeah.
really, that's the level. It's not just
Yes,
simple. Because your team
Yeah.
can make a decision that make you lose money.
Yes. But we have to do that because it's like growing of muscles, right? You have to break the muscle in order to grow the muscle, and in order for muscle to grow, you also need recovery, right? So this is where what has changed is it actually changed how my attitude is like, not to be too focused on just on financials. I mean, short-term financial, it may jeopardize, but longer term, okay, it grows the team. I think it's worth it. Yeah, to let them, first of all, but of course we have to equip them with the right decision-making process, the system. Okay, so as they go around to have more, I would say I let go a bit and let them take charge. Actually, I train them. Yeah, and I monitor. Okay, so it's not all, and I let them take the risk that is not detrimental to the organization. Of course, as a leader, we cannot just say, okay, well, I'm going to trust my team and this is going to be a multi-million or billion-dollar contract. It's not going to be like that, right? So it is going to be, let's say, I'm going to start off with you doing this, and if you make a mistake, it's fine. I will normally tell them, it's okay to make the mistake because I'm there. All right, I know how to salvage it in case you didn't do it well. So this is something that at the start, I would actually do, right? Yeah, so but I think that's good because subsequently the team really know what needs to be done. So these are, and they grow and they learn. Yeah.
I think doing work, if I would love to say, it's almost everybody in your team already knowing it when they already repeated doing it as SOP. But a leader who be there, like inspire them, motivate them, move them, and make them thing done. I think that's what, if you don't let leader practice, it cannot be done. Even myself, up to today, I still feel I have to practice a lot. I still have to practice the it's just different set of skill and different set of problem that we have to face when we grow a leader. Like Pauline, she moved all the way to US now, and she start new thing again and start all over again to learn, because even at this young beautiful age, she cannot be sit still in Singapore. You know what I mean? It's just in our blood. we have to do things and make things done and lead the team and inspire. So how can you pass that to your team? How can you let them know that, hey, you're confident to lead the team? I'm here with you. I will be here, and anything support, I will be with you. We're not going to let them die. You need to get us like we just let them fail and do mistake, because if without mistake you can never learn. You have to fail, you have to make mistake, and then on this we adjust and then we get better. Quick adjust.
Correct. I mean, do corrections, you see. So this is where I that's why I never like to say failure, this word, because I don't think it's a failure. I think it's always, you make a mistake, it's actually a success, right? Who saying mistakes is a failure? No, it is a success, because after that you learn about it and you get better, right? If you don't know what the ways that it can't work, you don't know the ways that we will work. So that's the mentality I think we need to do, and that comes in the key difference between building a team and building an ecosystem.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will come back with you with another episode and another amazing guest. Bye.